mean, one thing I've learned is that um, everyone hears music differently. Everyone takes different things out of music, and there will always be someone who doesn't like what you've done, and so it's often if a director and producer like what you've done, it doesn't mean the executive producer will necessarily like what you've done. So you might have to go and start again, even though
Hmm. Hmm.
you think you've satisfied your director and producer.
Let's begin with the television commercials. You are given a timeline of about 30 seconds, 20 seconds, or maybe a minute or something. What crosses your mind when you are given this timeline? There is a briefing, there's a script, but then what's the method of a background music composer?
Well, I suppose it's the same with commercials or TV or film. To be honest,
Mhm.
the role of scoring something is to help the storytelling and to help the narrative from start to finish. So whether it's a 30-second commercial or a 2-minute commercial or a 90-minute film, I look at the story and see how I can best aid the story.
Mhm.
And with commercials, I suppose it's about trying to tell as much story as you possibly can in a very short time. Um, and also with commercials, it's about imparting an emotion, and so the takeaway from the commercial is what the client would like it to be, um, whether it's empathy and emotion, or whether it's comedy or whatever. So um, first of all, the first thing I do in the process is just try and listen to lots of other music on the commercial to see what might feel in the right ballpark. What is the right tone? What's the right instrumentation? What's the right energy and speed of the track to go with the images? Whether there's a lot of voiceover, whether it's all music, or whether there's a lot of sound effects. Um, and I just try lots of music over the top of it to see what feels like a good sort of area. Um, and then my next step is to start writing my own things,
Hmm.
and again try and just experiment loosely, not being too specific with anything at the beginning, just getting a feel for the right tone and right area. And then once I'm pretty confident I found that area, I'll then be more specific with the timing, because you have to be very specific with timing
Mhm.
and picture on something that's so short as 30 seconds. Um, and then, yeah, as sort of get more forensic and more focused as you go through the process. But with commercials, you often only have a few days to do something, if that sometimes. So you
Mhm.
have to be quick. You have you have to be able to work quickly.
Mhm. When you compose music, what do you do? Do you prepare a kind of a track first, and then you start adding instruments to it? What for the benefit of music arrangers here who'd be watching the show? What exactly is your method? Do you keep a track beginning to end, and then start putting layers and tracks?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, every composer has a different way of doing things, but
Mhm.
and it does vary from show to show. But I mean, my main instrument is the guitar and the drums. So
Mhm.
I'm less of a keyboard player, but I usually um, start like, playing around on the guitar, or I start playing around on the keyboard, and then I build up the track as I go. I add layers and instrumentation, and it's a bit trial and error. You find out what you feel, what works, until you've got a full track. A lot of other
Mhm.
composers might just play something entirely on the piano and have it in their heads as to how they would orchestrate it sometimes. But I like to build as I go and mix the track as I go as well, so that I'm constantly getting a feel for the end product, as it were.
So when a film is offered to you, do you come back to the director with options, or you just create which is more or less final?
Oh no, I always come back to options. So I usually if I come in at the script stage, before they've even shot anything, then I'll read the script and I'll do some demos of ideas, and they might be various ideas of very different genres or very different styles. Again, just to sort of start out wide and then focus in on what works. And so I often send these demos to the director and the producer, sometimes even before they've started shooting, to get their feedback and see what they think works. And I really like that, actually, because it's a really unpressured time where you're not on a deadline to deliver episode 1. You've got loads of time because the shoot will take a few months, and so you can really have time to experiment and get the best musical world together before you're on a timeline, and then you're suddenly having to deliver. So I find that's the best time to sort of experiment with ideas.
Has there been a time when you felt that, well, I offered 4 options and one of those options was great, but it was not picked up by the director?
Oh, always. Yeah, definitely. I mean, all the time. Yeah. I mean, it happens on everything. That's why it's always good to deliver options, because your opinion is not necessarily always going to be the same as anyone else. I mean, one thing I've learned is that everyone hears music differently. Everyone takes different things out of music, and there will always be someone who doesn't like what you've done. And so it's often if a director and producer like what you've done, it doesn't mean the executive producer will necessarily like what you've done. So you might have to go and start again, even though you think you've satisfied your director and producer. The people with the money at the top of the tree are not satisfied. So then you have to go and try again, and you have to accept that it might not be always your favorite thing that goes up on the end of the show.